The Black Dahlia murder, the gruesome and unsolved death of Elizabeth Short the morning of January 15, 1947, began unremarkably in Los Angeles. The city, bathed in the soft light of dawn, stirred to life with its usual rhythm. On Norton Avenue, in the Leimert Park neighborhood, a young woman named Betty Bezinger was out for a walk with her 3-year-old daughter. As she strolled along the sidewalk, she noticed something odd in an empty lot ahead. At first glance, it seemed to be a broken store mannequin carelessly discarded in the dirt. But as she approached, her stomach churned with dread. This was no mannequin. Lying in the lot was the mutilated body of a woman, pale and lifeless, grotesquely severed into 2 pieces at the waist. Betty grabbed her daughter and ran to a nearby house, where she called the police. Thus began one of the most infamous murder investigations in American history, the case of Elizabeth Short, forever immortalized as the Black Dahlia. Who was Elizabeth Short? Elizabeth Short was born on July 29, 1924, in Hyde Park, Massachusetts, the third of 5 daughters to Cleo and Phoebe Short. Her early life was marked by instability. When Elizabeth was just 6, her father abandoned the family, leaving Phoebe to raise her daughters alone during the Great Depression. Despite these hardships, Elizabeth was known for her striking beauty and her dream of becoming a Hollywood actress. In her late teens, Elizabeth began to pursue the dream. She moved frequently, living with friends and relatives, often in search of opportunities in California. By 1946, she had relocated to Los Angeles, hoping to break into the film industry. Her beauty earned her attention, but she struggled to find steady work, surviving on odd jobs and the kindness of acquaintances. Her striking appearance, dark curls framing an alabaster complexion, accentuated by red lips, earned her the nickname the Black Dahlia, allegedly inspired by the noir film The Blue Dahlia, which was popular at the time. But Elizabeth's life in Los Angeles was far from glamorous. She frequented cocktail lounges and nightclubs, where she mingled with servicemen and Hollywood hopefuls, often depending on others for meals and shelter. She was known to be charming and flirtatious, yet she kept her personal life shrouded in mystery. By January 1947, Elizabeth's dream of stardom seemed increasingly out of reach. The crime scene on Norton Avenue shocked even the most seasoned investigators. Elizabeth's body had been meticulously cut in half at the waist, her internal organs removed and neatly positioned. The severance was performed with surgical precision, suggesting the killer possessed medical or anatomical knowledge. Her face bore an even more chilling mark. It had been slashed from ear to ear, creating a macabre Glasgow smile. Her body had been drained of blood and scrubbed clean, leaving her skin unnaturally pale. Detectives noticed other signs of sadistic torture. Rope marks around her wrists and ankles suggested she had been tied up and brutalized before her death. Pieces of her flesh had been removed, and there were signs she had been beaten. Yet, despite the horror of the scene, there was a strange orderliness to it. Her body was posed deliberately, with her arms raised above her head and her legs spread apart, as if the killer wanted to display his work. The lack of blood at the scene indicated Elizabeth had been killed elsewhere, her body transported to this location. But who would commit such an atrocity, and why? The investigation begins. The LAPD launched a massive investigation, assigning dozens of detectives to the case. The first step was identifying the victim. Fingerprints lifted from her body were sent to the FBI, which quickly matched them to Elizabeth Short. She had been fingerprinted years earlier when she applied for a job at a military base. Detectives interviewed Elizabeth's friends, acquaintances, and former roommates, piecing together her movements in the weeks leading up to her death. Witnesses reported seeing her in the company of various men, but no clear suspect emerged. She had been staying at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, where she was last seen alive on January 9, reportedly leaving to meet someone. Then, on January 24, a chilling development occurred. The Los Angeles Examiner received a package containing Elizabeth's personal belongings, including her birth certificate, photographs, and an address book. The items were neatly wrapped in a manila envelope smeared with gasoline to obscure fingerprints. A taunting note accompanied the package: "Here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow." The gesture confirmed what police had already suspected: the killer was toying with them. A media frenzy. The gruesome nature of the murder and the mysterious identity of the killer captivated the public. Newspapers dubbed Elizabeth the Black Dahlia, sensationalizing her life and death. Rumors swirled about her being a prostitute, a temptress, or involved in criminal underworld activities. These narratives were often exaggerated or outright false, but they added to the intrigue surrounding the case. The media circus placed immense pressure on the LAPD to solve the murder. Tips poured in from the public, leading to over 150 suspects being questioned. Some of these were prominent figures, including actors, doctors, and businessmen, but none were charged. The killer's ability to evade capture only fueled his notoriety, and Elizabeth's case became a cultural phenomenon. Suspects and theories. Over the years, numerous suspects have been linked to the Black Dahlia murder, but none definitively. Dr. George Hodel. One of the most compelling suspects is Dr. George Hodel, a wealthy physician with a sordid past. In the early 2000s, Hodel's own son, Steve Hodel, a retired LAPD detective, accused his father of the crime. Steve discovered photographs of a woman resembling Elizabeth Short in his father's belongings and linked him to a medical building where Elizabeth may have been killed. George Hodel's expertise in surgery aligned with the precise mutilations inflicted on Elizabeth. Further investigations revealed that he had been a suspect in 1947, but evidence against him was inconclusive. Mark Hansen, a Hollywood nightclub owner and former acquaintance of Elizabeth, Hansen became a suspect due to his personal connection to her. Elizabeth had reportedly stayed at his home and used his address book, the same one sent to the Examiner. However, no physical evidence tied him to the crime. Other theories. Some believe the murder was the work of a serial killer or someone attempting to mimic the gruesome crimes described in pulp fiction novels of the era. Others suggest the murder was a ritualistic killing, given the deliberate posing of Elizabeth's body. Despite extensive investigation, no one has ever been charged, and the case remains officially unsolved. Legacy and cultural impact. The Black Dahlia murder has seeped into American culture, inspiring countless books, movies, and television shows. James Ellroy's novel The Black Dahlia, 1987, fictionalized the case, while the 2006 film adaptation brought it to a new generation. Documentaries and true crime podcasts continue to dissect the case, exploring new theories and suspects. Elizabeth Short, once a struggling actress trying to make her mark in Hollywood, has become a symbol of the city's dark underbelly, a reminder of its capacity for both dreams and nightmares. Her story resonates as a cautionary tale about the dangers faced by young women in pursuit of fame.